When you left Los Angeles, you didn't you guys move to France?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that was kind of a sort of left field decision that we made very quickly. But yeah, we did. We went to the south of France to a place called Aix-en-Provence, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
And we went there in 2015, in the summer of 2015, and we thought that was maybe just for like a year. We were a bit lost about what to do with sort of preteen girls in LA school-wise, and we came up with a baroque plan to not stick them, sorry, wrong word. They're human beings. You don't stick them.
They're more like wild animals.
Well, yeah.
Teenage girls.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, preteens, yeah, tough. Although we got lucky. But no, we sort of came up with this plan to put them in the French system in LA. There's a great French school there, and we knew the head teacher. But in order to do that, they would have to speak really good French. So then we came up with this plan of, this is a long story, but I was doing a TV show in the UK and commuting between LA and London. And we'd done one season. And Kerry said after that season, we're not doing this again. We're all going to come. And I said, fair enough.
Because Kerry was back in Los Angeles, correct? Like
she was in LA, yeah.
3 girls.
And then the kids would come for the summer. So they would come for about 3 months, but, there were 3 other months where I was working. So that wasn't ideal. And then she came up with this crazy idea that we would rent a house in northern France. I would commute on the train, which is possible, just about. And I would shoot Monday to Friday. And then we would be at the weekend in France. The kids would get to learn French, get good at French. And then we'd come back to LA when the off season, and they would go into the lycée system, and we would have this sort of bilingual educational program for these kids, which is kind of what I had when I was growing up. And I think, Kerry was envious of that and thought that would be great for the kids. And so then what happened was this TV show got cancelled after the first season, and she was devastated. And not because the TV show was cancelled. I could tell it was because the whole life plan had started to crystallize and become real.
Yeah.
And so we woke up. I mean, she was really struggling. And to be fair, we were at a point where we'd been in LA for a while. We're not from there. We didn't really understand the education system. Other parents were way ahead of us, and it's quite cutthroat in terms of planning for your kids' education. It felt like that anyway, and we didn't really have a solution. So I woke up on the 1st of January 2015 and just said, look, why don't we just go anyway? I love France. My mum had retired to France and lived there for a while, and I knew it pretty well. And I did a research trip, went to meet a teacher at a school, a head teacher at a school in Aix-en-Provence, which was about an hour and 15 minutes away from my mum, which is the perfect distance to be away from your mother. Helpful when needed, but not constant.
We're about 30 minutes away from my
you've made
mother.
A very big error. You're just too close by 45 minutes.
It's a little close.
No, I'm sure it's very useful when the kids are young. We didn't have that because we were on the other side of the world.
Right.
But anyway, I joke. I love my mum, and so do we all. But and I know you do too, yours. But and she's lovely, and say hi. But so I'm not denigrating all mothers and mothers-in-law and grandmothers. It's just anyway, that was the rationale behind it.
Yeah.
Also, my mum lives in a very remote area, so it was too remote for us. And we found this place which was perfect with an international school, an airport, 15 minutes away, and it seemed to work. I was doing a recurring role in NCIS at the time. So we went with the idea of going for a year, and we ended up staying 3 years, renting 3 different houses, and eventually sort of made the decision to move back to Europe. Nothing's easy though, because we then shipped all our furniture from LA to France. So we had pool furniture from LA because we had a pool there, and we had pools in France. And then halfway, when the furniture was in the middle of the Panama Canal or somewhere like that, we then decided to move back to London. Not many pools in London unless you're a billionaire. So we ended up, or Kerry ended up, because I was by this point shooting in Malaysia for 6 months.
Oh my God.
She sold the house and then had to receive all this furniture for about 2 seconds in France and then ship it to London. And then it arrived in central London. We rented a flat in Marylebone with no outside space. And lo and behold, all this pool furniture, Chinese day beds, sort of gazebo furniture arrived in central London, and we didn't know what to do with it. So they all had to go to storage. Needless to say, I was nowhere to be seen, and Kerry had to deal with everything as always. But anyway, that's how we ended up back in London eventually. But we had 3 wonderful
your wife
years.
is so patient.
Yeah. Patient.
That's amazing.
Patient is a good word. Sometimes
Yeah.
the patience wears a little thin, and understandably so, because for some reason all the big decisions happen, and I'm on a set somewhere, and she's having to deal with it.
Oh my Lord.
We never intended to stay forever. Having said that, I could have stayed forever. I was very happy.
You were.
Mind you, I think I'm pretty happy wherever I am, to be honest.
What was it
Carrie's
about that you loved? Like being in
Oh,
France?
well, I grew up a bit in France, in Paris, so I have a nostalgia attached to my childhood. And my first schooling experiences were in France, and then I studied languages. So I'm very much a Europhile, and I love the culture. I had an agent. I mean, I got a French agent. I mean, I've started careers in so many continents and then left them half finished. I'm a bit of a disaster when it comes to following through and a career. But I had this romantic idea of being the foreign guy in French films, which I kind of did a bit of while I was there. But I could have, happily stayed. The French are very civilized the way they shoot, Katee. 8 hours a day with a long lunch in the middle, and always in the nicest parts of the country. And then when you finish the movie, they drive you around the country and wine and dine you at every cinema. Like literally, you get in a big, like a stretched BMW with your cast mates or the director, and you just drive around provincial France. And then the local cinema owner puts you up on stage, you introduce a screening, and then they take you to dinner at the best restaurant in town. Then you get back in the car and go to a nice hotel and do the same thing the next day. I'm very happy doing that.
Does the work suffer for the 8 hours a day?
No, the work's great. Everyone's happy. No, the work's great. No, joking aside.
You don't have enough time. Like, is there enough time to shoot an entire movie with like 8-hour days?
It just takes a bit longer. And the lunches are better. I don't know. I'm a big fan of French stuff because they make films for themselves. Because if it's in the French language, they're really only making them for themselves. So as a result, people really go to the movie theater to watch their own talent, the familiar stars in their own language, telling jokes that they'd understand about the places that they know. And a lot of it's comedy. So we see a lot of the sort of dark side of French cinema because that's the stuff that wins the awards all over the world. Right. But the bulk of French movie making is kind of like rom-com stuff. And it's really fun. It's really fun. It's really liked. And I've done a couple, and they make about, I don't know how many. I mean, at least every week, about 10 French films that are just for the French market come out. Now, the French complain. They say that's too many. It's hard to make your film stick out. But they're making all these films. They're making all this product.
They're making 10 films a week?
Yeah, literally.
That's like a Hallmark.
No, they have a massive industry. And like a really big hit film will sell something like 20 million tickets. There's only 60 million people in the country. Like a third of the country is going to see the big films. And they go to see the blockbusters, the Hollywood blockbusters as well. But they're also supporting this local industry. And it's why they're so strong on a media level. Like all in the biggest European media companies like Pathé and Gaumont and Canal Plus, they're French. They're all French. Whereas we in Britain are a bit of a sort of colony of Hollywood, and we kind of exist to sort of enable Hollywood production to run away and shoot massive films here in London. But they're not really British films, and we don't go and see our own films in the same way that because we have the common language. So we go and see, big American movies, and otherwise people stay at home and watch Netflix, and there you can find sort of British. Anyway, that's a long answer, but I was very happy there, and we were all very happy there. But, moving back to London, very exciting too.